So I think there's always this perception of like, wow, you know, you're a woman entrepreneur. It must be so difficult, you know, and yes, that is all true. But when you really love what you do and you're really passionate about it, it's worth it. Hi, I'm Sera Murphy. I am a stylist and owner of the Reoutfitter. The Reoutfitter is a fashion styling company, and we also sell pre-loved apparel. Pre-loved is secondhand apparel. So essentially every client that we go see to style will always have excess in their wardrobes. For us, we want to do styling differently. We don't believe in just going and making you look beautiful no matter what. We will always go into your home and into your wardrobe, figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and there's always excess. That excess is the secondhand or pre-loved pieces that we sell at the Reoutfitter shop. Yeah, you know, I think I probably had the idea for the Reoutfitter in my mind probably my whole life without knowing it. I have always been in fashion. Fashion has been my whole life. I went to fashion school. I then went into fashion buying. And then when I had children, about 6 years ago, I took a lot of time off. And I was not wearing any nice clothes at all. I was wearing my maternity wear all the time. And I wanted to get back into fashion, but in a way that was sustainable and actually helping people. And I think that's where all of my passions came together for helping people, being in fashion, and being sustainable. So the idea of the Reoutfitter came really from my heart my whole life. As a company, it was born about 2 years ago. The transition from being a corporate buyer or fashion or anyone in the corporate world into motherhood can be life-changing. And it was for me, particularly because so much of my role was sort of dressing people or always finding the right clothes for the right store, whether it was a store or a person. It was always around clothes and what people are wearing. And then suddenly, I just didn't care at all about what I was wearing. I didn't care what anybody else was wearing. And from a physical perspective, I could only wear certain types of clothes when I was breastfeeding my kids or if I was running around with them. I also gave birth in Hong Kong, so it's very challenging to, you know, dress a certain way for motherhood and also be stylish enough for Hong Kong, right? So I just sort of gave up a little bit on dressing myself. But deep down, it was a passion that clearly needed to come back out. I think being in fashion, but adding the element of sustainability, I think is really where the true sort of light bulb went off for me is that I could be in fashion and do something good for the future. I certainly think about my kids a lot when I do work and when I am reselling any piece of clothing. That's one piece of clothing that I know is going to somebody else. It's not going to the landfills that then my kids are going to have to deal with by the time that they're grown up. And it was almost finding a way to marry that, fashion and sustainability. And once I figured that out, it felt almost like a calling, like I had to do this for my kids. I had to go back to work in a way that was doing something productive. Sustainability can mean so many different things to so many people. And there's such a nuance of where we are in our sustainability journey as well, right? And I'm not perfect. I still forget to bring my cloth bag to the grocery store sometimes. That's me. But I think where we are passionate about something, or if there's something that you are very knowledgeable about, and if there is where you can make a little bit of change, that is really helpful, and those small steps really matter. So for me, it was clothes and fashion. Because that's all I knew, it almost became impossible to ignore the fact that the fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries in the world. And so, for me, that's where I do my little bits of work in specializing in fashion and sustainability. But I realize that that's not for everybody. And so I think even just being aware of that and acknowledging that and understanding what sustainable fashion might even mean and knowing that there's nuance there, that's better than anything. And so I try not to push people too far into one sustainable way versus the other. As long as we're aware and we're doing our best, I think that's the best we can do. It's absolutely important for our children to understand that we are trying to make better ways of living for them so that they have a planet to live on. Just even when I think back to when I was younger, we didn't shop as much as we do now. We didn't have the Zaras or the other fast fashion stores at the mall. It was a treat to go to Old Navy or the Gap. It was amazing, and I would get to buy a few new pieces for the whole school year, if not the next school year, if I didn't grow. And just to think that how much has changed in my lifetime, and I see where fashion is now and how we consume now, it really scares me for what my children are going to grow up with. And I don't want them to feel the burden of having to deal with the harmful effects of what we're doing when they're older. I want them to be able to have kids too and have their kids be healthy. I started the Reoutfitter 2 years ago, and now we have our own space to sell our pre-loved pieces. I am fully booked out with styling clients for about 6 months. The team is growing as well. And how we got here was, it was really step by step. And I think the biggest fear for me when I started the business was, oh my God, I'm not gonna have enough money to do all of the things that I want to do. I was always thinking long term, but it was how fast do I get there? And a big part of it was a learning lesson for me to slow down, to take it step by step. I didn't have to have a big investment starting out. And I started out just seeing a couple clients here and there, going to my friends' houses who were great. They let me come in and do their wardrobes for them. And that's how I sort of gained the experience, but also figured out how I wanted to shape what my services would become. The shop actually started on a whim. It was just that I had a few clients who wanted to sell their pieces, and being full service and sustainable, of course I was going to help them do that. And then slowly, as I started seeing more and more people, I got more and more pieces, and I figured, why not just have my own little website to do this. It started up as a pop-up shop online. Now it's just like a permanent thing. And so I did have this trajectory of, oh, I would love to have a showroom. I would love to grow my team. But taking the steps back and realizing, okay, right now I can't do that, but I'm gonna do what I can. And every time that we did that, we ended up having great success and moving forward all the time. So I think there's always this perception of like, wow, you know, you're a woman entrepreneur, it must be so difficult, you know, and yes, that is all true. But when you really love what you do and you're really passionate about it, it's worth it. It's worth the blood, sweat, and tears. There are good days and there are bad days, but truly it is so much more rewarding than any other job I've had before. I think the biggest challenge that I've faced, and I still face it a little bit today, being totally honest, is just the pretentiousness that fashion can give off. When you say you work in fashion, there's this idea that you're working for a luxury brand, or that, you know, you only dress a certain way, and that's never been me. In fact, growing up, I was a little bit of a tomboy, and I had my punk phase, you know, and so I've always been a little bit of a rebel in the industry in that, you know, I was just gonna wear whatever I want. And I think that's important to show the world that fashion is for everyone. We all wear clothes. I mean, if we didn't have fashion, we'd all be naked. And so it doesn't always have to be so luxury or high end or super, you know, in the know. It could just be the t-shirt and jeans you have on your back. Pre-loved has so many misconceptions. Secondhand, pre-loved, thrift, vintage, whatever you want to call it. All of these things come with a lot of baggage. And I think the biggest one for the public is that it's not worth the money. You know, I think fashion has become so cheap at the retail level nowadays that we don't hold value to old pieces anymore. And so when something is old, or if the tags have been taken off, if someone has worn it, there's a misconception that that should now be for free or dirt cheap. And I don't believe in that, because somebody made that garment. Somebody hopefully was paid. Sometimes they're not paid, but somebody was paid to make that garment, and I think it's worth spending the money to keep that item treasured and keep it moving. The other main misconception is that it's not fashionable, or that it's old or out of season. And I always love to say the things that I get the most compliments on are the things that I've bought secondhand. They're very unique too. And at no point have I felt this is old or I'm out of season. So we have an online website called the Reoutfitter shop, super unique name. We have an online website called the Reoutfitter shop, where we list everything that we sell online. We photograph it. We hopefully can find some nice model pictures of it. We also like to write about the garment. So if it's a brand that we really love because they're sustainable, we'll talk about that. And a big thing we try to do is explain The tag might say extra small, but it fits more like a medium. And I think that's super important too when we start to understand pre-loved, because we have to understand why somebody gave this garment away. It might be that the fit was off, and that's it. And if it doesn't fit her, it will fit you or hopefully somebody else. So you could shop online. We list our product by size. We do our best. And we get a lot of feedback from people who come into the showroom to try pieces on the sizing. To come into the shop, we now take appointments. We are open 3 days a week, and you can choose what you would like to try on. So you're welcome to come in. We'll give you a coffee or a tequila, your choice, and you can try on as many pieces as you would like. And when people make an appointment to come shop with us, we ask that they list whatever piece, link us to the piece that they want to try on. And there's a couple of reasons why we do that. One is because we have limited space and a lot of our things are in storage right now. So we do a mass pulling of the pieces before the customer comes in. But the second reason, and I think this is what has made the showroom so successful, is that we look at the pieces that the customer says they want to try on, and there's a style, there's a pattern to it, and we can usually figure it out. We'll say, oh, she's coming here to buy beach dresses. Let's just go ahead and pull all of the beach dresses we have. Or, oh, it looks like she likes this designer. We can pull some other pieces. And then also we get a general sense of what you're looking for and also your size. And there are times too, you would be surprised. People pick out a certain size, they come in, it doesn't fit them. And we're like, listen, maybe you're not that size. And we're able to pull other pieces for them too here on the spot. But it's a great little added service. It's almost like a little mini styling session with me or my staff that we can give you here on how to style pre-loved pieces. Yes, fashion can be superficial, but what we wear on our bodies, it is how we present ourselves to the world. And it might not have to be the most beautiful ball gown or the most trendy outfit, but it can really make a difference on your psyche and how you feel. It's important that our looks on the outside match the way that we want to be perceived. And it can make a huge difference on your mental health. Even just for yourself, looking in the mirror or shaving off a few minutes of getting ready in the morning, knowing what looks good on you, can make a big difference to your everyday. You would shave off a few minutes of getting ready in the morning, because when I work with you, I really make sure that you have pieces in your wardrobe that you love. It's never gonna be that, oh my gosh, I have a closet full of nothing and I hate it all, or I don't know how to put it together. You're gonna open up your wardrobe, you're gonna say, I know this piece goes with that, or I know I feel good in this, or let's say I'm a little bit bloated today, I'm gonna go for that dress because I know I look good in that one. It's always having something that represents you and is comfortable to you. And that's how you will save time in the morning so that you don't have to think about clothes all the time. That's my job. My styling clients are extremely diverse, both in where they come from, what they need from me, what they want from me, their size, their style, their budgets. It's just all over. And my conclusion with that is that styling is for everybody. There is not one certain industry or profession that requires a personal stylist. I've had stay-at-home moms who just want to look and feel better about themselves. I've had C-suite level professionals. I've had entrepreneurs. And this, again, goes across all cultures and all socioeconomic levels. And so when we think about fashion styling, it always feels a little, oh no, that's not for me, I'm not a fashion person. But almost every one of my styling clients is not a fashion person. And my dream and what I do is I help people love fashion in a way that is workable for them. I want to say that every experience you have in life is going to help you for your business. For example, in university, I worked in the retail stores, And I did that because I wanted to work my way up to the corporate world and become a fashion buyer. But I would say that now as a stylist, looking back at that time when I was 18 years old, that is the most useful experience I've had for doing this. So even if you're starting at a store, just selling clothes, or if you're just following, your mentor around and listening to her talk or figuring out what she does on a daily basis, all of that is really helpful and useful. And I would never discount any of that hard work you've done in the past, whether you're 18 or whether you're 45.